Bridgerton Season 4 is officially in production. To kick off the season, they gave audiences a sneak peek into the main couple of the season, the new and returning cast, and what to expect from Season 4. So let's break it down. The first half of this video will be a journalistic coverage recap type thing of the information that Shondaland has put out, everything that we know about Season 4 so far, and the second part will be more my personal thoughts and reactions as a fan. But first, I'm talking about the interviews and the photoshoot and other tidbits that have been coming out, because they really have been spoiling the audience thus far. They're really starting Season 4 off on the right foot. This is exactly what they should be doing every season. This is the way they should be promoting their couple. It's really ingenious to have this whole thing drop on the exact day that production is actually starting, when they're actually starting to film. To have these queued up, these interviews, these cast announcements, this photo shoot is really, really good. This is a great way to drum up anticipation, to announce that it's in production, to generate hype, to continue generating hype for the series, as it is going to take a while to film and distribute. If I was on the team or advising them, this is exactly the type of thing that I would suggest they do, and I just couldn't be happier to see that Season 4 promotion is off to the best possible start. This is what we should be doing. This is what Bridgerton couples deserve. This is the right way forward. After an odd bit of silence from Shondaland after the news of Yerin's casting broke on Variety, I believe, strangely, they tried to keep it under wraps. I guess they were preparing to do the promotional introduction video to Yerin as Sophie, which I loved, by the way. That was great. I still maintain that a masquerade mask reveal for all the cast members back on set would be bellissima, and I think they should still do that, but this was great. This was actually, if you think about it, the first kind of introductory video that we've even gotten for casting. When Simone Ashley was casted, it was just, they posted her headshot on Twitter and talked about her being cast as Kate. So this is a lot more fanfare, which I think is appropriate and fitting and deserved. And I hope that this is the trajectory that they continue on. There were great touches with that. I mean, she looked gorgeous, of course. Do I even need to say that? But, you know, the silver gloves, so good, so good. Oh my god. Yeah, there seems to be a mystique. There seems to be a lot of effort and attention paid to this promotional journey, which I think is really smart. Similar to the alteration they made to Kate's book counterpart, changing her last name to Sharma from Sheffield, they've done the same thing here. They've changed Sophie Beckett to Sophie Beck, a Korean surname to match the actresses and presumably the characters' cultural background and identity, similar to what they did with Sharma, adding the Indian heritage as a part of that. So I'm going to read the plot synopsis and some of the excerpts from this article released by Shondaland, just to give you an idea of kind of the general plot that you can be expecting. So it says, despite his elder and younger brothers both being happily married, Benedict is loath to settle down. That is, until he encounters a captivating lady in silver at his mother's masquerade ball, who is later revealed to be Sophie Beck, a lowly housemaid, more on her below. Over 8 episodes, we'll dive into a love story that is both a tale as old as time and hot off the press as we eagerly watch what happens between Benedict and Sophie as their two very different worlds collide. They go on to say, taking inspiration from the 3rd book in the original Bridgerton series, An Offer from a Gentleman, this season is sure to whet all you Bridgerverse fans' appetites for love, lust, longing, and true fairy tale romance. And rest assured, we'll be running into a lot of faces, old and new, throughout the time. I'm first going to talk about the new information with the casting, but I will get to the returning cast because there's a lot to talk about there as well. They also announced the casting for 3 other titular roles in the book, and it's unclear whether or not they're going to follow the book plot, but if they do, these characters are named Araminta, Rosamund, and Posey, and they are Sophie's stepmother and stepsisters. Again, this is a Cinderella retelling. This is what the framework for the book is based on, so they follow in those footsteps. They also gave little tidbits about what to expect from the show's version of these characters. So, for the casting, we have Katie Leung, who you might recognize as Cho Chang from the Harry Potter series, playing Lady Araminta Gunn. We have Michelle Mao playing Rosamund Lee, and we have Isabella Wei playing Posey Lee. So the information provided about the show's interpretations of these characters includes that Araminta is twice married and twice widowed. She's the mother of 2 debutantes, Rosamund and Posey, who are coming out this year. Araminta is described as fabulous, discerning, and blunt, and does not respond well when anything or anyone threatens her standing in society. Rosamund is described as the beautiful and vain eldest sister, her mother's most prized possession, and always eager to please her mother. Posey, meanwhile, is described as being the much kinder younger sister who is chatty, overly friendly, and always putting her foot in her mouth. Very interesting distinction we'll get into. So with this announcement, there's a lot to talk about. The first is that in this article, one of the things that was also revealed alongside this news is that Rosamund will be pursuing Benedict at the behest of Araminta. I am of two minds on this. The first is being a little scarred by a love triangle involving two sisters in the series prior, and being apprehensive about yet another love triangle being a focal point of the season. It begs the question, is there no other storytelling device or storyline we can go with at this point? You may as well expect a love triangle every single season. However, I don't think that this will be the type of love triangle that people are assuming it will be. For one, this is an element that's briefly mentioned in the book, and it makes a lot of sense because, of course, Benedict is the most eligible bachelor of the ton. Of course, someone who is on the marriage mart, who is debuting, is going to want to go after them, especially someone who has characteristics as Araminta and Rosamund have been described as having. He's bound to have interest from other debutantes, and it makes sense that Rosamund would be one of those. If they stay true to the book, the relationship between Rosamund and Sophie is tumultuous at best from the very beginning, so it is different from the situation of two loving sisters like Kate and Edwina, for example. There's a big distinction there between the type of relationship and the effect that both of them going for the same man might have on it. There really is no relationship for this to affect in the first place, is what I'm saying. Also, I highly doubt Benedict will show any interest in her whatsoever. I really doubt that Benedict will give her even the time of day for a single second. I envision this as being more of a tool to highlight Sophie's victory at the end, which I can circle back to. Love triangles are an easy device to propel the narrative forward, and they work with varying degrees of success in Bridgerton. For example, I expressed my affinity of their adding a love triangle to the Romancing Mr. Bridgerton season 3 plot because of the particular dynamics that were at play with the affection switching, and now Colin being the one to pursue Penelope. I think that worked really well. That was a good addition. Similarly, you can make an argument for Simon, I suppose. I think that season could have done with or without it. In season 2, I'm personally of the opinion that leaning into the love triangle aspect of it was a mistake and detracted from the story and the characters overall. For this season, I don't think it requires a love triangle, and in fact, this is maybe the one book that's the most singularly focused on one love interest. There's really no other people but Sophie that he's focused on this entire time. But again, I see this being a very brief, very inconsequential thing if they do add it in. If they wanted to explore a love triangle, I would have been interested to see them explore that from the perspective of the dual identity of the Lady in Silver and Sophie, perhaps. I think that could reap some interesting results. But to be fair, they can still do that even with this. There's been a lot of discussion about Katie Leung being too young to have this role, which I want to touch on very briefly. Firstly, she does technically qualify to fit this age. We see over and over again, it's 17, 18, 19. Those are usually the ages that women are debuting. They get married very quickly. They start a family very quickly. That's how it was in that society. So with that framework in mind, it makes sense that she would be around 37 to 40, and her daughters would be debuting just now, 17, 18, 19, something like that. We just saw Penelope become a mother at 19. Daphne had a similar experience, so it's not abnormal for women to become mothers at a young age. Now, does it seem odd to consider the fact that Nicola Coughlan and even Luke Thompson are in a similar age range and playing much younger than her? Perhaps, but I do have faith in the hair and makeup team to age her up, to, kind of have her in matronly clothing and just have it check out visually on screen. The age difference between her and those playing her daughters is not dissimilar to the age difference between Shelley Conn, who played Mary in season 2, and Charitha and Simone, who played her daughters. It's not that big of a gap. It is pretty similar. Also, I just want to say very quickly, Shelley Conn did not receive her flowers from the fandom, and I will not stand for it. I think that is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my entire life. And the fact that nobody was talking about it really drove me crazy. So let's give Shelley Conn some love, okay? Come on now. That gorgeous, stunning, talented, amazing, beautiful, brilliant. I mean, come on now. Look at the material. And she looked pretty young, but again, they did a good job kind of like aging her up and making it make sense, so I'm not worried about that. I also think that anyone in the cast of Harry Potter is subject to perpetual youth syndrome, where people really struggle to see them as adults, so that is likely a contributing factor to this outrage about her age. But again, I also have to defer to the casting department. I'm like, if they think she is Araminta, she is Araminta. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, there was no one else on planet Earth that could have played it better. It doesn't matter if she's a little young. Come on now. I just trust the casting department with my life, pretty much. They have literally never missed. Like, the casting has been sublime and superb, so I have no choice but to assume that this is sublime and superb casting yet again. So I do want to briefly touch on their heritage, because I hadn't anticipated that they would also be East Asian. And I find that decision interesting. It is relevant to note, likely, that the actresses who are playing Araminta, Posey, and Rosamund are based on their own heritage, and the surname of Lee are likely going to be Chinese, whereas Sophie has been confirmed to be Korean. So there is that distinction there, which I wonder if that will play into the storyline at all, if we'll explore that at all, similar, again, how they did in season 2. In the book, Sophie is supposed to stand out from her stepfamily, and that's actually a big distinction that's made, and kind of a plot point in the book. So I'd assume that they would have people of a different ethnicity to highlight that difference between the two, but I'm extremely interested to see what new elements this might bring to it. I think there's a lot of interesting ways that they could go for it if they want to kind of pursue different storylines like that. I have some ideas even about a certain someone assuming a certain identity that belongs to someone else that is plausible if they are both East Asian. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I think this is a great choice. Again, I just trust the casting department with my life. I'm like, yeah, that's Araminta, Rosie, and Postman. Thank you very much. That is them. That is them. Thank you. Also, I mean, again, I feel like this goes without saying, anyone that is allowed into the Bridgerton universe is just stunning, gorgeous, amazing, talented, brilliant, never been done before, like that vibe, and all of these women are absolutely stunning, absolutely gorgeous, I'm sure very talented, I'm sure lovely, and I am obsessed with them already. They're just everything. Again, I don't know what to tell you. I just trust them with my life. Michelle Mao, who's playing Rosamund, gives me really, really strong Edwina vibes. I don't know if anybody else, not in characterization, like I think they'll be very different characters likely, but there's something about them visually. I think the type of beauty that they both have, it's very classic. It's a very romantic type of beauty, I feel. And yeah, they just remind me of each other a little bit. They don't look anything alike, obviously, but like they just, there's something about the type of beauty and the type of like striking that she is that I was reminded of Charithra / Edwina. Now, I always envision Posey and Rosamund to look pretty different, so I think it's good that Isabella and Michelle look very different. That makes sense for the characters. I'm very interested in the character description they gave for Posey, though, because I don't really find that that was her characterization in the book, but I see different routes that they could be going down, which I think could be good. And again, we'll capture the overall essence and the structural platform that they were all on, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. There are a couple things in this article that make me question whether or not they're going to kind of give them a redemption arc, because one, having Araminta be younger, I think leaves way for a kind of more sympathetic story where, you know, she got married young, she's been forced into this system that she doesn't want to be a part of, and she was made to care about status. I could see that being kind of a type of thing, that she was driven to this life and that's why she is the way that she is. I could see that being explained. Also, the way that they talked about Rosamund kind of being a people pleaser towards her mom, that makes a lot of sense to me. And that kind of takes the blame off of Rosamund in a way of like some of the things that she does, where it's like, okay, well, she's just trying to please her mom. So it seems like they might be kind of fleshing out these characters and humanizing them, which I don't have a problem with. I think, you know, one-dimensional villains are never, like, a good thing necessarily. However, I do hope that it doesn't go too far in that direction. I could see them dedicating time and effort to try to make them more sympathetic, similar to maybe a Portia or even a Cressida, as they really kind of fleshed out her backstory this season. But I think that would be a mistake because it would detract from Sophie's story, and the truth is that everyone's a human being, everyone has their own issues, there's complexity and depth to all of us, but sometimes people are the villain in other people's stories. Sometimes they do bad things and they hurt people, and that is what it is. And I don't want that element of the story to be detracted from, because it's extremely important to Sophie, to her characterization, and then also to the stakes of the situation and how she ends up where she does with Benedict. I'm willing to admit also that there might be bias here because I personally relate to this particular situation very heavily, and I just would really like to see Sophie be the most important part of this, and I don't want time and attention to be taken away from her narrative and her story and her resilience and kind of the abuse that she suffered. I think it's important that she suffers that abuse. So I'm very interested to see where they go with that. And I can see a way where they might do a little bit more sympathetic, which again, I don't think is a problem overall. But I hope that they stay true to the overall essence of the narrative. Also, I do briefly want to address people saying that the love triangle should have been between Sophie, Benedict, and a man. I have to disagree. I think that they will carry over that plot line that they introduced in season 3 of Benedict's either bisexuality, pansexuality, something like that. It has never been named exactly in the show. But I do think that that will be at the beginning portion of the season, probably before he meets Sophie, or even before it could be post meeting Lady in Silver, before meeting Sophie. I could see that, they've done it every season. The man raking around the place, all over the place. He's going buck wild at the beginning. So I definitely think we could see an extension of his exploration of his sexuality, and we could see him be with men, women, whatever, at the beginning of the season. But I do want it to be focused on Sophie. And I do think that if it were a love triangle between, Sophie, Benedict, and a man, it would bring up a lot of other elements that they would need to dedicate time and effort to kind of exploring and acknowledging and holding space for, that, again, I think would detract from the story of Benedict and Sophie. So I just don't think it would be a really big juggling act that I think it's safer to kind of take that out of the equation. And also, I could see how that would be problematic for some people. Obviously not like me, but I could see there's a lot of weird perceptions about bisexual or pansexual people where if they end up married to someone of the opposite sex, they basically are considered straight or categorized as straight, and I think they might want to avoid that. So again, I don't think that they just introduced his sexuality to never discuss it again or to never have it be a part of the narrative. I would be interested to see if maybe him telling Sophie about that would be a part of it and her accepting that, or maybe him telling his family or a member of his family. I would find that very interesting more than anything else. I do hope that they weave that into the story, into his storyline, his discovery, his characterization. But I really don't want it to have anything to do with Sophie or to be any sort of obstacle in the way of him and Sophie's story. They also revealed that they had built a bunch of sets, and I've seen some on-set pictures now. They built a replica of the Featherington house, so I think this is reflective of probably a bigger budget, maybe more secrecy, because in a lot of these locations they have to go out and film them, and obviously paparazzi, these are public locations in London or Bath or whatever, so I think maybe they want a little bit more privacy and secrecy, which is very interesting to me, but we'll see. I'm just like, period budget, love that for y'all, go off, build a whole set if you want to, period. But that's where that photo shoot took place. Now, let's talk about the photo shoot and the little oh my gosh. I just caught a glimpse of them. Took my breath away. Because what is that? Bridgerton, you've done it again. How have you found the two most attractive people on planet Earth to be a couple? I don't understand. This is talent. This is talent of the highest caliber. Because what do you mean? What do you mean they look like that? I see the vision so clearly. Exactly. That's Benedict and Sophie. Come on now. The chemistry's radiating off the screen already. I mean, I knew this. Luke Thompson could have chemistry with a literal chair. So I was in safe hands. I wasn't worrying. I wasn't sweating for a second. But wowza. They're stunning, gorgeous, amazing, beautiful. And thank you so much for having them do a photo shoot. This is exactly what you should be doing. It is absolute lunacy and insanity. I'm going to take a very brief section to say it is insanity and lunacy that they never gave that to Simone and Johnny. I don't care about COVID because they did multiple photo shoots during COVID, during the peak of COVID. So if that's your excuse, I think that's a wanting excuse. They should do one retroactively now. Not to steal the thunder from Benedict and Sophie / Yerin and Luke, because it's their time, it's their era, it's about them now. We love that, period. But it is criminal that there is not a professional photo shoot of Johnny and Simone together. It is absolutely criminal. Speaking of criminal, Simone was left off the returning cast list. Now, this might be denial and delusion. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. I think that's an error, but if that's an error, that is gross negligence and incompetence. That is bad. That is really bad. And apparently it's not the first time that Simone has been left out of returning cast article before. I don't know that if it happens twice, you can even call it a coincidence. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right? There's a lot of different people involved. There's a lot of different elements to consider. I don't know if it's scheduling. I don't know if it's budget. I don't know what is going on. All I know is that it would be a grave and grievous error to not bring Simone Ashley back. That's all I know. That's all I know for sure. I think they should do anything and everything they could to get her back. Simone herself has expressed a desire to return, has talked in multiple interviews, both print and video, about wanting to return, about talking to showrunner Jess Brownell about returning. I just don't see her not returning, but that does then beg the question, why was she not on the list? And I find that very strange. And, yeah, egregious. I just find it egregious. It's really, really crazy. But again, I still have hope that she will be there. I really don't see how they couldn't, especially now with all this backlash. I mean, come on. You can't have the Viscount without the Viscountess. Where's she gonna be? You know what I mean? Like, it's just a ridiculous prospect to even try and fathom a world in which Kate would just be missing from this season. That's really crazy. The Viscountess. Lady Bridgerton? Come on now. So I'm still of the mind that she will be returning, because she said it, because everyone wants it, because it's the smart thing to do. But I do find this to be yet another error in the promotion surrounding Johnny and Simone, which is not a good look. It's really not a good look. That's all I'll say for now. You know what is a good look? That. That is a good look, period. Absolutely. But this is what I mean. This is the leading treatment. This is the hero and heroine treatment. Like, this is how you need to be treating your leading couple. Absolutely. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I've been screaming from the rooftops. Come on now. Yeah, so they mentioned that Sophie is maid for the taxing employer who never lets up Araminta Gunn. When Sophie disguises herself one fateful night and crashes the masquerade ball, it's there that she meets Benedict, and both lives are forever changed. Love to hear it. Oh my god. I'm giggling and kicking my feet, screaming, crying, throwing up. So what can we expect from Benedict and Sophie this season is the question that is asked. Luke says, I think the main thing we can expect is a really nice mix of fairy tale and reality. We've got this fairy tale love story. Yes, but it's also got the Bridgerton element of trying to tether that story to some sort of reality as well. So we'll see how that pans out. Period. Your mind. Absolutely. I love that he mentions the fairy tale, because that is an element of this book and in the Cinderella retelling. That is absolutely a prevalent element of this storyline, so I love that he says that. Yerin says, you can expect this emotional tug-of-war, this kind of push and pull between what their hearts desire and what society desires for them. Luke then says, oh, that's so much better than what I said, and you know what, I have to agree, that is better than what you said. Luke, what you said was good. What she said was amazing, absolutely. See, here's the thing, yet again, this cast just understands the assignment. Unlike any other cast I've ever seen in my life, they know their characters. They know these couples. They're the ship captains. Like, they just get it. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you get it. Oh, they're taking it. She gets it. I know she gets it. Already, I'm like, oh my god, Sophie's in such safe hands. Yerin, your mind. Me and Yerin are like this, because what do you mean? Because that could have been me. Because I could have said that. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my god. I just feel so safe with them. Period. Absolutely. Again, casting. Chef's kiss. Okay, what are some words you use to describe their character arcs this season? Yerin says, the obvious one is roller coaster, but I'm going to say something new. Prismatic. And I'm using that as a metaphor for the character of Sophie before she meets Benedict and after. Absolutely. Again, her mind. Her mind. Talented, brilliant, gorgeous, amazing, stunning, never been done before. What can I say? It's elite. This is what I mean. I know exactly what she means, too. He asks her to even explain what prismatic means, which I thought was hilarious, but she just gets it. I'm like, yes, I see prismatic for Benedict and Sophie, and especially Sophie. Before and after meeting Benedict, and then the light reflecting into the rainbow, like, yes, I get you. I get you. Oh, she's taking it. Ah! Oh, God, I love this show. Look at them. Look at them. Also, the height difference is crazy, and she's wearing big-ass heels here, so not another height difference. It's the same height difference as Luke and Nicola, I believe. I love to see it. Even after such an eventful season for Benedict last year, how does he continue to grow and evolve as a man? Well, I think with Benedict, it's always about trying to find that solid thing that he's able to feel himself commit to something rather than flit about. He's a man of many interests, and that's great in some ways, and in some ways, though, can betray a sense of being lost or a little bit restless, and that goes quite deep, I think. There's clearly something in him that's not very comfortable, a bit scared, or a bit worried about the idea of committing to something, and that's partly the struggle. See, again, Luke Thompson, your mind. Because you get Benedict so well. And also, I do think that this characterization of him being, like, free and wild and bohemian and whatever is absolutely going to be portrayed as basically like a defense mechanism once he meets Sophie. It's like, oh, okay, actually I was just doing that because I was scared and I didn't know what to do and I was, you know, self-sabotaging and whatnot. I think he is going to get to a point where he is going to be tired of that lifestyle. Like Tilly said to him, you know, it gets tiresome. I think we're going to see him toward the beginning of the season really kind of be like, but what's the purpose? What's the meaning? This is all feeling a bit hollow. And he's going to be searching for a greater purpose and a greater meaning, and that is what he will find in Miss Sophie. But I think it's very interesting that he's already thinking about that, and it does make me hopeful that that will be included in the narrative, because I do think that that's a good route to go down for Benedict in the season, and a good thing to focus on for his character. What's it been like to join the Bridgerton cast and crew family? I don't think there are enough words in the dictionary to describe what it's like joining this family, but I'm just very, very grateful, and everyone's been so welcoming with open arms. It's been a lovely experience so far. Luke chimes in and says, it's yours now too. And then Yerin says, ours. It's our family. You got me crying in the club. Did a tear come to my eye? Perhaps. I see the potential. This season is gonna gag people so bad. They're not even aware what they're in for. It's really crazy. I feel sorry for them. They're in for quite the surprise. Yeah, absolutely. I love to see them bonding, love to see that she's been welcomed. That's one of my favorite things about this show, is that the cast does seem like such a family, and they do seem to actually really love each other and enjoy each other's company. So I love to hear that there's another member of that, and that she was welcomed with open arms. And she talked about, like, Luke just being there with wide open arms, welcoming her, and this is what I like to hear. This is what's necessary also to build a good on-screen couple. You have to have this kind of chemistry. You have to have this kind of openness and this kind of connection. And I can feel it already, and they're alluding to it already. So, absolutely. This is great news. I've been told that costume fitting is such a big moment. Yerin, without giving anything away, what was your experience with that? Now, she mentioned, she says, it's been kind of incredible because I just never saw myself wearing maid's clothes or any clothes in the Regency period. Now, I think I knew that they were going to keep that she was a maid, right? Like, I logically knew that. They would have to change a lot about the book for her to not be in maid's clothes at some point in the series, but hearing her say it with her own lips was like, oh, there's maid's clothes. And every detail that they give, I'm like, oh, there is a masquerade. Like, I'm acting surprised. There's something that's very jarring about hearing it straight from them. I'm like, oh my god, Sophie in maid's clothes. I can see the vision so well. Can't you see her in the violet and the purple and the Bridgerton purple? Can't you see the vision? Oh, can't you see the? She would look stunning, gorgeous, and amazing. Actually, I think that's her color. Ooh, oh my god, I haven't even thought about her well, actually, it'll be very interesting to have a leading lady that really doesn't have a nice wardrobe, because the majority of the time will be the one nice thing that she'll have, at least for the majority of the season, will be the masquerade dress, and the rest will be commoner clothes, peasant clothes, will be, you know, maid's uniforms and things like that. That's very interesting. What a difference. Ooh, my mind's spinning. My mind's spinning. But yeah, every little thing that they're confirming, they said something about a lake. I was like, huh? A lake? Lake scene happening? Confirmed? In the year 2024? My dreams are coming true. I can't wait. I was so excited for this. This is just gonna be the slay of the century. What can I say? They talk about, again, the masquerade ball. I'm like, literally been confirmed that that's gonna happen. By the way, what do we think Benofie's emoji is gonna be? For Canthony, it was the bee. Paulin, it was the carriage. What is theirs gonna be? Is it gonna be a mask? because I think it should. Also, I want to say really quick, I think a visual motif that they should use is absolutely stairs. I had a dream, I prophesized this, I had a dream the other day where, like, in the dream, I got access somehow randomly on the internet to episode 4 or 5 of season 4 now, before it had come out, and I watched it, and of course, in my dream, it was whatever my conception of it was, and that was one of the things that was in there, the use of stairs, because it's like, okay, below stairs, above stairs, the class difference, worlds apart, that type of thing. Her running down the stairs, him chasing after her. I would love if there's a moment of him looking up at her to, like, you know, the shifting dynamics. He's like on his knees. Oh my god. I just think stairs would be a great motif. Similar to how they kind of use the mirror. And even a mirror would be good for them, but obviously they've, you know, done that ad nauseum for Colin and Penelope, so they need to kind of switch it. But I do think that for the promotional images as well, the idea of the mask, the secrecy, the dual identity for both of them is a good way to go. Strategically, from a marketing perspective, I really think they need to lean into the masquerade, and I would love if they also leaned into stairs. I think that would be a great way to do that. I love everything they say about dancing. I'm like, Benedict and Sophie are gonna dance. Oh my gosh. The possibilities are endless. Like, I cannot even begin. Well, I can, and I have begun to think of all the different possibilities. Oh wow, if they nail this, this will be revolutionary. And it looks like they're off to a really, really great start with all this casting, with all this content they're releasing to celebrate the beginning of season 4 production. So that is your news update and coverage and recap of the new content coming out of season 4 production of Bridgerton, sprinkled in with a little bit of my own psychotic commentary and thoughts and feelings. Welcome to the family. I'm obsessed with all of you. You're perfect. I trust you. I trust you with my life, that type of thing, that vibe. You get Sophie, me and you are like this. I'm like, yeah, this is most pleasing to me. This is most pleasing to me. And again, this is my favorite book. What can I say? It just is. So I cannot wait to see the things that they adapt, the things that they change, what's added, the new interpretations and whatnot. It will be a very interesting journey to follow along with it. So if you're interested in Bridgerton at all, you're definitely going to want to subscribe, because I can guarantee you there will be many, many more videos on Offer from a Gentleman and season 4 coming your way.